it's certainly not going to be worse than it was last year, right? Like there is, in the stock market, again, to bring up stocks with our stock market expert coach, you're always worried about the dead cat bounce when something hits the floor and then goes up, but it's really just because it's dead and it's going to go back down. So they're at least going to get that, but you would hope it's not a dead cat bounce, that it's a real resurgence to playing up to their talent level. I think Odell will be better because I think the quarterback play will be better. But I want to go to Coach because Coach, this side of the table during the year had been very critical of Baker Mayfield fairly and was skeptical and less bullish on Baker certainly than I was going into the year. But this side of the table also, I believe, I know I've spoke to Coach about this, and I think I'm speaking for you as well, was impressed by Baker on the show Friday and the way if people didn't watch, he was our final guest of Super Bowl week. And I thought, now I'm a little biased because I like him, I thought he answered every question just the right way. I thought he showed the steps one would need to take if he was going to have a bounce-back season, interceptions aside, but from the other unforced errors of the year.
Yeah, I actually like all the things that are happening in Cleveland. I know I'm probably in the minority there, but I think that Paul DePodesta did a good job in hiring Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin is a really bright coach who's worked his way up, who seems to have not only the proper temperament, but the proper ego, and understands that he doesn't know everything and there's going to be a learning curve. And it seems to be an alignment and a fusion between ownership, the administration, coaching. So I like that aspect and where they're headed from that perspective. In terms of the players, it's good to see. It was nice to see Baker say the things that he said and take the accountability. And look, that's the reality of the NFL. The NFL humbles everybody at some point, whether it's because of how long you play or who you play against or how you perform. Eventually, the league humbles all of us, and you need to understand that's part of the process. And that humbleness can lead to really great growth. And I'm hoping that's what happens with Baker, because there's plenty of examples of him doing the right thing. There's plenty of examples of him being a good leader. There's plenty of examples of him playing winning football, and I think he can do that again. With Odell, he needs to make a decision as to what he wants to do and how he wants to fit into this mix, and he could be part of something great, and he could change the narrative that he's had to this point. Every year, that's the other great thing about the NFL, is every week and every year you get a chance for redemption. And do you take that chance and do something with it, or do we just start the same movie over again? And ideally, he's moved past that and grown.
Ideally, yeah. But, when you talk about Baker Mayfield, and he was on the show, and he talked right, but one of the things that we used to say is talk is cheap, play the game. I think talk is great. It's all makes everything, makes all the fans feel good. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't put it down on the field, it really doesn't matter. I think it's a step in the right direction. Just like you said, Coach, the game is about being humbled and how you deal with being humbled. Because a lot of these guys have never been humbled throughout their entire careers. They go and play in the NFL. It's the first time they face adversity. How do they deal with it? I think Baker Mayfield is unique in that sense, where he was a walk-on and things like that. But when I look at Odell Beckham and you talk about the decision that he has to make a decision whether he wants to be a football player and that's going to be his main focus, or is he going to be a celebrity and that's his main focus? Because there's a lot of things about the way he approaches the game. Like, I love him when he's on the field, but when he's off the field, there's something about it that disconnects with me. Maybe I'm just the old crotchety old player that just says play the game and forget about all the social media stuff. Maybe that's a thing of the past, but he's going to have to make a decision to whether he wants to really focus in and grind on being a football player or not.
You make a great point. I'm sorry to interrupt, Jenna. Making a decision, do you want to be a player or do you want to be a social media star? And I had a young player that, when I was in New York, who was focused on everything but playing, and he wasn't playing very well, and he was a high draft pick. And I just said to him, like, look, at this point, you're a bust. So you can go out and you can have your whole media team talk about how great you are, and you can go on this cooking show and that talk show, but at the end of the day, you're a bust. So if you want all that stuff to go the way you want it to, then get in the weight room, work hard, play better, play up to your potential, and all that stuff will take care of itself. And I don't begrudge anybody from trying to maximize their economic potential. It's their right. It's what they should do in this window that they have. but you can't lose track of what's the most important thing to that economic potential. And like you said, that's the work that you do on the field.
I would imagine, Nick, your answer is going to be, why can't you do both? And for the great players, they were able to do both. There haven't been a ton of them, but they were able to. But the two guys on the Browns who wanted to do both, Baker Mayfield and OBJ, weren't able to accomplish that this year, because in order to be the celebrity, you have to be the main thing first. You have to be the football player first. And for OBJ, he's so talented. He's so good at his craft. And you want to hope that maybe he's, 6 years in now to his career? Mm-hmm. When is he going to have the season where he stays healthy? He really focuses on being puts good numbers
First
together
3 years of his
and
career.
Elevates the team to have success. Yes, but he had the other stuff too. It was a lot of stuff that tainted what he did on the field.
Because people allowed it to. Well, yeah. Well, okay. Well, if you know
Here's a former football player.
That's great. I can disagree with Amani. Yeah. I can tell Amani. I do think he's the crotchety old man on this. Odell Beckham. He said it. I mean, you can say, I know you're going to say this, and then be surprised when I say it. Listen, last year Baker was the 31st ranked quarterback in football. Mm-hmm. Odell had 1,000 yards. If we want to act like that, if Odell wore a different visor, didn't wear a watch, the Browns would have won 11 games, that's fine. I think it's lunacy. Now, I do think what is true is that, to quote a wise man named LeBron James, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. The reason you are a celebrity is because you are a great football player. And the longer you play on bad teams, the longer you don't play in big games, the less your celebrity star actually shines. But last year was not on Odell Beckham Jr. There were 4 games last year Baker played well. 4 games with a passer rating of 92 or above. They were 4-0. The other games, when he's a turnover machine, they're 2-10. Sometimes we spend all this time talking about, use a mixed metaphors for a moment, bulletin board material. You know when we never talked about it? With Frank Clark. You know why? Because his team kept winning. So that narrative, we had to ball up and throw away. Frank Clark said, Derrick Henry ain't going to do nothing. They stopped him. Said the Niners were coming for you. They won that game. So we don't blame him for any of that. We are looking at the Browns season, saying it went to hell, and saying, well, Odell did have the visor and the watch, and so now we are working backwards from it. To me, it's nonsense. He is a great player in this league who, even with bad quarterback play, every year of his career has been highly productive. 1 year he hasn't been a 1,000-yard receiver. That was the year he broke his leg 2 weeks in, or 3 weeks in. So I just disagree with the narrative of it. I don't think it's a fair narrative. I don't think it's an accurate narrative.
The truth is always somewhere in between, and as much as you want to say it has nothing to do with it, and as much as some people want to say it has everything to do with the failure of the Browns, the truth is somewhere in between. And what we can all recognize is the potential greatness that he has.
That's what I'm saying.
And if he decides to realize that, then I think that it will have an incredible effect on the team. It's just a function of, are you going to choose to be the best version of you?
Like, I watch him on film, and I watch his routes. I watch his techniques. I watch the things that make receivers great. He has a lot of ability that makes up for some of his lacking in technique. But pretty soon, he's 6 years in, 10 years in, he's not going to be able to make up with his athletic ability, his deficiencies in route running. So all I'm saying is that, time is running out. Father Time is undefeated in terms of how it slows down receivers. And I just think that he could be so much better if I think he focused on the game as much as he focused on the other things in his career.
Well, I would just like to see the receiver who's been better over the first 6 years with equivalent quarterback play.
Yeah, but you got to understand, though, like, he has had so many more opportunities than any other receiver in terms of getting the balls thrown at him. There was a couple of games early on in his career, he had 20 throws at him. I mean, how does that never happens?
He's the best player on the team, or he was early in his career.
And it's already always everybody else's fault.
It's not always everybody else's fault. Listen, I've told him this. We've talked about this. The interview is last year with the Giants, with Josina and Lil Wayne.
That was a mistake.
It was a mistake. He thought he thought he was doing well by saying, when asked, is Eli the problem? He's like, I lied. I said, I don't know, when I actually knew. You got to lie better. There are and you know you're a target. So, like, the things like, listen, he acted like a doofus at the national championship game. Absolutely. No one can deny that. I get it. But all those things can be true. and it also can have next to zero effect on how good the Browns are. But because the Browns were bad, we work backwards to it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.